Elon Musk is a white supremacist who believes in things like the...
Oh, boy.
I wasn't even finished the sentence.
You may need a lawyer when this is over, Bakari.
Can I finish the next sentence?
Honestly.
Who believes in things like the great replacement theory?
Honestly, Bakari.
So, yes.
What's wrong with what he said? It makes sense
but
to me.
Elon, if somebody believes in the great replacement theory, I believe I have every ground to stand on. But what I'm not going to do is allow someone, just because they're a trillionaire, and this is the problem we have in this country, because somebody has $1 billion or somebody has $1 trillion, people all of a sudden are afraid to speak their truth.
This envy, jealousy, hatred of success, why is it immoral? Why is it wrong for somebody in our system, our capitalist system, in the greatest nation on earth, to go out and build a company, build companies, build technologies, go into space, aim to go put a colony on Mars?
All right, this one is getting people talking, and you can already tell why the moment it hits the timeline. The energy around this discussion is intense, and it immediately splits opinion right down the middle. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, what we're looking at here is a two-part political flashpoint that sparked a lot of debate. On one side, we've got Scott Jennings, who comes in firmly defending Elon Musk, a billionaire often described as one of the most influential and controversial figures in the world today. The commentary frames it almost like a classic power versus critics narrative, where support for ultra-wealth and influence is being strongly justified. But then on the other side, things escalate quickly. Bakari Sellers enters the conversation and makes a very direct and serious accusation regarding Elon Musk, using extremely strong language and suggesting there is evidence behind that claim. Naturally, that immediately raises the stakes of the entire discussion and turns what could have been a standard political panel into something far more explosive. And that's where we are right now. Two completely opposing interpretations colliding in real time. One defending influence and power at the highest level, the other raising serious ethical and political concerns. Let's roll the clip in full, and then we'll break down exactly what's being said and why it's causing such a strong reaction.
Tonight, call it 1,000,000 millions or 1,000 billions. Today, Elon Musk broke history, becoming the world's first trillionaire as his company SpaceX went public. SpaceX celebrated a record IPO trading today, with shares gaining 19%, lifting the company's market value to over $2 trillion. Now, Musk could also be compensated up to $7.5 trillion if SpaceX hits certain milestones, but the full payout depends on the company establishing a colony on Mars with 1 million permanent inhabitants. No big deal. To illustrate what Musk could do and buy with all of that money, here's Jimmy Kimmel.
If you tried to count out loud to 1 trillion, you would be counting until the year 33,736. $1 trillion is 10 billion $100 bills. If you stack them up, the pile would be almost 700 miles high, as tall as 123 Mount Everest. With that kind of money, Elon could buy every NFL team, all of them, and he'd still have $773 billion left, which he could use to buy all 30 Major League Baseball teams, every NBA team, every Wendy's, every Target store, the Beatles' entire music catalog. He could buy Nike, Macy's, and every Hyundai Elantra ever produced, and would still have $260 billion, $50 million left over.
Here's my confession. $1 trillion is not a real amount of money. It's just a projection.
I mean, of course, to you peasants, you've never touched it.
It's not real. It's not real.
Once you get to $1 trillion,
we can't hold $1 trillion in our hands, okay? But is it?
I would try.
Is it a moral failure, Carrie, for somebody to call themselves a trillionaire in this day and age?
I think here's the irony. I was listening to a podcast Elon was on not too long ago, and he said pretty soon with the advent of robots, there will be no manual labor. Pretty much money's going to be useless. We won't even need money because they're going to take over and it'll be cheap labor, and money won't even it'll be a cashless currency. We don't need it in this society. And here he is, right here, the very first trillionaire. So I was looking like, I wonder what he would do with $1 trillion, very much like what Jimmy Kimmel was just doing. In my mind, what could you solve? What kind of problems could you solve in our world? So just humor me for just a few moments. If you spent $1 million every single day it would take you more than 2,700 years to spend $1 trillion. What you could effectively do with $1 trillion is get rid of global poverty. You could end world hunger. You could cure major diseases like malaria, and you could completely transition the global energy sector to renewables. The fact that he has this type of money only tells me that his power will be more prevalent, and that I cannot guarantee someone like this man would use his power for good.
Well, you've already seen it. I think the great irony in what you just said is that this is the same person who took a hatchet to USAID. And the end result of what we're seeing is that there are thousands of women and children who have died because of the cuts. America has become weaker because we've receded from the world order when it comes to our soft power, something that George W. Bush talked a great deal about. Elon Musk is a white supremacist who believes in things like
Oh boy.
I wasn't even
Glad
finished the
Arthur's here.
sentence.
You may need a lawyer when this is over, Bakari.
No, and then, can I finish the next sentence?
Honestly.
Who believes in things like the great replacement theory?
Honestly,
So,
Bakari.
yes.
What's wrong with what he said? It makes
I
sense
mean,
to
but
me.
does wait a minute. Does Elon Musk not believe in the great replacement theory?
don't-
Is it not a racist theory that's been
And
debunked?
what's so boy about
I
it?
just think considering we have about 12 defamation cases in my office right now, before you start throwing things around like someone's a white supremacist. Now the senator from the Democratic senator who's got the SWAT sticker on his
what does
chest,
that word
I think
mean to you?
then I would win that case.
Hold on, but hold on. Actually, hold on. Let me just. First of all, I want us to stay on topic. I mean, Arthur, I would say there are people. You just brought up Graham Platt. There are people who have come on this show and called him a straight-up Nazi. So that has happened.
But there's evidence of that.
Bakari is arguing.
but also-
Bakari is arguing that he has evidence of
let me
racial
just
bias.
say,
I don't want to litigate that.
If somebody believes in
So
the great
let's
replacement,
move on.
if somebody believes
want to litigate that.
if somebody believes in the great replacement theory, I believe I have every ground to stand on. But what I'm not going to do is allow someone just because they're a trillionaire. And this is the problem we have in this country. Because somebody has $1 billion or somebody has $1 trillion, people all of a sudden are afraid to speak their truth. That is not going to silence
All
me.
right.
Who said that?
Scott Jennings, you've been shaking your head. You've been shaking your head since Carrie started talking. So
I've been all day long. I've been listening to liberals count and spend Elon's money for him. This envy, jealousy, hatred of success. Why is it immoral? Why is it wrong for somebody in our system, our capitalist system, in the greatest nation on earth, to go out and build a company, build companies, build technologies, go into space, aim to go put a colony on Mars, give internet to half the world, all the things he's doing? Why is any of this wrong or bad? Why would we want to discourage entrepreneurship? Why would we want to discourage anybody building anything? That is the nature of it.
That's a fair question because Elon Musk has also, I mean, he's getting super rich, but a lot of other people are getting rich too. At SpaceX, people who are associated
That's
with
the wrong frame. And I think that Scott Jennings is wrong, and let me tell you why. Because they're liberals, the liberals that you are lambasting right now, no one is saying, and I'm not saying, I can't say no one, but I'm not saying that I'm mad at him for being innovative enough to create an IPO that creates wealth for him or many others. What I am saying, however, is that there has to be some nature of altruism. Being an American, right? I mean, reading the Statue of Liberty, like there is a certain level of give me your poor.
Well, do you have evidence? Wait, do you have evidence that Elon Musk is not altruistic? I mean, I don't know. I mean, Michael Bloomberg, our former mayor, he's given money to every charity, every event.
I do think that when you compare Elon Musk's charitable giving to other uber wealthy people, whether it's Bloomberg,
Melinda Gates, Bill Gates,
you know, Lorraine Powell Jobs, you name it, Warren Buffett, he's not high on the list. And he's now the wealthiest person on this planet. But Bakari was alluding to this, and so was Carrie. Ro Khanna says you got to tax them at 5%. In 1 year, you could fund free public college and trade school, $10 a day childcare, special needs education nationwide. Bernie Sanders says
How much is Ro Khanna worth?
that Bernie Sanders says this is an argument that rich people, you don't have to be a trillionaire, but people who are making a lot of money should be subject to more Social Security tax because right now they only pay it on less than $200,000 of income. So there are some proposals on the table for how, you know, there are going to be a lot of people making buckets of money in this AI world. And there are going to be a lot of people put out of work. There are proposals on the table to how to make that work for society a little bit better.
Yeah, and I don't think what you were saying, Bakari, was wrong. Look,
You
some
never
checks.
think what he's saying is wrong. So that's
Who? Her? Yes, she does.
She never disagrees with
Oh,
you.
my
She
God.
disagrees with me all
How
the
much
time.
is someone allowed to have?
Okay, first of all, no one's jealous. I want to point that
Oh,
out.
yes,
I'm not
that's all day
jealous.
long.
Well, not me. I'm
All
not
day
jealous
long.
of
I've
this
been reading
$1
about
it. A lot of people are.
Sure, fine. I'm just saying that I know that he's not going to. I'm going to say, to your point, he has used his money for good, for advances. You're right. There are many wonderful things that he has done for society that we now look at and say, guess what? I can now do that. And you're right. Giving internet to people who didn't have internet, amazing, wonderful, good for you. But what I am saying is that I also know that he doesn't believe that he should do the things that we were just pointing out, such as changing what we need to change in this society.
Is he mandated to agree with you?
No, he's not mandated to agree with me, but there should be some checks and balances in this society. People should not be allowed to have $1 trillion.
Scott,
No
are they allowed to
human,
have? Scott,
no
do you-
one
allowed to
human
have?
needs that
Scott,
much
do you
money,
think
and
that?
you know that.
Do you think that these ultra wealthy people, I'm not talking about people with 10, 15, 20, even $100 million. I'm talking about people who are approaching $1 trillion. Do you think that there's more that they should be doing to give back to the societies that helped them get rich? Elon Musk and SpaceX benefited from tens of millions of dollars in government contracts and deals that allowed them to become the company that they are today. Should they be doing, Bakari, can I?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Scott, do you think that they should be doing more?
I think it's up to them. I think that many of them, and Arthur mentioned one, they do a lot. But it's not for me or you or any of us here to tell someone else what to do with what they earned.
Governments
and what
do that
built.
every single day. It's called taxes.
Yeah, I know. And the rich people in this country pay the vast majority of taxes. And I hear people today saying, oh, it's time that we tax the rich. Folks, I got news for you. We already tax the rich. They pay the vast majority of tax. And I think Elon Musk is the single largest taxpayer in America, and he'll be even bigger now. But is it for us to sit around and say there's a limit on what you can build, there's a limit on what you can earn, and it's now my job to tell you what to do with your money? Hell no.
But
right,
Scott, let me
let's
real
leave it
quick.
there, Arthur.
What if there's a tax that you have to pay to a charity, not to the government? You get to pick what charity. After you make over $100 million,
No.
5%
Arthur,
you got to give
you
to
will
a
not
charity.
redistribute my wealth to other private entities.
Okay.
That's my money. I'm not going to redistribute yours. Don't redistribute mine.
All right.
Okay.
Next for us, Hunter Biden.
This segment really ramps things up, moving from political commentary into much more controversial territory. The speaker first addresses the claim about Elon Musk being a white supremacist, using extremely strong language and pointing to his actions, posts, and public statements as justification for why some people interpret him that way. It's a highly charged accusation, and it immediately sets the tone for a very divisive discussion. But just as quickly, the focus shifts away from labels and into something broader: wealth and power. The main argument here is about Elon Musk's extreme level of wealth and what it represents in today's world. The speaker frames it as a symbol of inequality, suggesting that no individual accumulates that kind of fortune through labor alone, but through systems that allow and amplify that level of financial dominance. From there, the critique expands into politics and influence, arguing that massive wealth translates into real-world power over policy, governments, and global outcomes. And that's really the core of the segment. Not just one controversial label, but a wider frustration about inequality, influence, and how concentrated power shapes society today.